Hello and welcome to the Deep Beer Podcast. My name's Sean and joining me as always is the one and only Dante Boffin. Mr. Boffin, and how are we?
Shawnee, I'm here for the second time in the last month with a soul in hand. So I'm pretty fucking good. How are you?
I'm well. Bit of a story today. It was lunchtime. I went for a drive up to the shops because I needed to grab some things.
Some banh mi.
No. You.
I've hit a sore point.
No.
I don't want to talk about the banh mi.
I've actually had maybe 3 banh mi in the last week, so it's a fair question.
There.
And I'm gonna have pho tomorrow for lunch.
Oh my god, Vietnamese king.
Literally,
King of Saigon.
Yeah. I wish there was a way to spell Sean with like
Vietnamese letters.
Anyway, I went up, I got this book that I ordered, and then I went to the local card shop, an LGS, your local card store. Sean in Vietnamese.
Nah, talk amongst yourselves. I'm just saying if there's a way to spell Sean in Vietnamese.
No, that
doesn't look like. Oh, there you go.
In Thai.
Some nice characters. Anyway, you went to the local card shop, you're talking about like gift cards, or are you talking about
like playing cards, like Magic the Gathering and stuff?
Oh, true.
Yeah.
What shop is that?
Mind Games, Northcote High Street.
Bloody hell!
Yes, the one with the
you're
goblins.
You're working from home.
Yeah,
today?
working
I was
from
thinking
home.
you were
Working
in.
from
I was
home.
thinking you're in Southside, in
Right.
redacted Southside suburb, so as not to dox you. But
as opposed to redacted Northside suburb. Oh man, I love redacted Northside suburb. So yeah, went to the card shop, went in, said, "Hey man, just looking for some Commander decks. Do you have any like cheap ones? Less than $40 would be great." And he's like, "Yeah, I've got all these. I've got all the starter decks. They're like $30. Oh, sick, man." He lays them out on the table. I'm looking at him like, "Look, I don't know. I don't know too much. Which one's the best?" And he goes, "Well, me, because in Magic, everyone's got a color pretty much. Like everyone's got."
What does the color mean?
It's like your favorite team, pretty much. Like like when you're building your deck, you might really like this guy says he loves green, so he's like, "I'm going to recommend the green deck to you. I think it's the most fun." But I was like, "Oh no, actually, if we're going by that," I was like, "Well, my favorite is blue, right?" And all these sort of colors have different tribes, and they've got different strengths and weaknesses, and they've got different archetypes that they play under. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm blue," and blue's typically like the cunty class. Is very like a lot of counter spells, a lot of like disruption, a lot of like board wipes, just trying to make everyone unhappy.
So a bit of a specialist class. We're talking like
a slow control. It's like you're trying to stop everyone, and then once you've stopped everyone for the whole entire game, in the last 5 minutes, you want to win.
Okay.
And then so I said to him, so he's like, "Oh, here's all the decks." He's like, "I would say green," but I was like, "Oh, actually no, I might go blue because that's my favorite." And he goes, "Oh, you're a heathen."
Oh.
And then
Can we get a physical description of the man? Not that it should matter, but it does.
Maybe 6'5".
Fucking hell.
Slicked back hair. Potentially.
Brother, you're playing with the wrong magic.
potentially creased from a fedora out the back.
Fucking hell.
No, just like a gentle giant who works at the card shop.
Do you think fedora wearers in 2023 are in on it, and it's like a post-irony take, or
I reckon it is, but they just don't know how to execute the joke.
Yeah,
I reckon they're all like, "This is so funny. We're gonna look like we're making fun of ourselves."
But then they just look like a fedora wearer,
and then the moment comes where the punchline is to be said, and they just stumble over, and all of a sudden you are a fedora wearer.
Yeah.
Anyway, he called me a heathen. I was like, "Oh, I am a prick." And he goes, "Well, at least you're aware." And I'm like, "Brother, I'm buying the cheapest decks you own because I don't know too much about the game, and this isn't a great introduction." It was nice.
No, don't fucking. You did that before we started recording. Don't doubt yourself. Don't come in with this like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that," or
No, I'm definitely not like that.
Just please back yourself.
All right.
Back yourself like I back you.
All right, I'm the best Magic the Gathering player there is, who's been playing for 12 months.
No. It doesn't even have to be that. It's just that you will be at some point.
Thanks.
You're going to get there. I literally was just thinking as you were saying that story, I can't wait to talk to you in 3 weeks and you'd be literally obsessed with Magic the Gathering.
I've been pretty obsessed with the cardboard crack for about 6 to 9 months.
So how do you not know much about it if you're only...
Because there's so much. Like, the game's been out for like 20 or 30 years. Like, there's so much stuff going on, and all the cards from all those years ago are like still relevant. Yeah. So if you want to be like an expert, you need to have just 30 years worth of knowledge in your noggin.
Yeah.
But it's good. I would say I like have an average understanding of the game and a grasp on the concepts. What from my experience with other card games across the history of my life.
Well, that was a very Fedora thing to say. I've been reading this book called Lost Realms, the jacket of which you can see over there on the bench. And the subtitle of the book is Histories of Britain from the Romans to the Vikings. And it focuses on the lesser known British kingdoms from the end of the Roman period through the Saxon period to the start of the Viking period of about 500 to 600 years. And a lot of people who are interested in the Anglo-Saxon history of England, they know a lot about, like Wessex and Mercia, Northumbria, the really big ones. But this focuses on the lesser known peoples who still left a historical imprint. Fortriu, Alt-Clud, the Hwissa, for example. And it's just made me want to play Total War Britannia so badly, which is the Total War video game is probably my favourite video game series of all time on the PC.
They're good.
And they did the Britannia version, which is set in roughly, it starts the campaign in Britain in roughly let's say 885. So Alfred is fully ensconced as the king of Wessex. Wessex is like the nominal power across most of mainland Britain, but the Vikings are raiding and establishing coastal kingdoms, and there's still like the old tribal kingdoms intact, and it's really a wonderful game. And reading this book, I'm just like I'm torn between wanting to go and sit in that armchair with the lights dimmed and a blanket over me and just read the book versus go back to my parents' house, turn on the PC and load up Total War Britannia. Maybe with some Doritos next to me and really go full Fedora.
It's crazy that you'll be reading all these books and you go, man, I just want to fucking play Total War, and I'll be at lunchtime just reading an article about just free agency moves, and we're going to talk about some on this podcast. You go, man, I just want to get on 2K, start of my league, and just like see how the rotations look. Today I did before I came, I did a Houston my league.
How'd the rotations look?
Well, so I signed Harden, I signed Brook Lopez.
Bloody hell.
Drafted Ausar Thompson. Was it Alsa?
I'm gonna go say Asua,
yeah. It's the twins. This is the better twin. Drafted him 4th, and traded. Yeah, I worked it out to be a sign and trade, getting rid of Kevin Porter Jr. to get James Harden.
Can you do sign and trades in 2K?
No, you can just force it and then say, "This is what's happened, guys."
Yeah. Okay.
And
this is what's happened, guys, to the computer. Yeah.
The rotation was pretty stacked, especially when Ty Washington's like a 76 overall. Which
2K really fucking lost it the season when they were like, everyone who used to be 71 is now 77.
Yeah.
Really, and then they didn't adjust the contracts so that like every single cunt by the second season was like 83 overall, and they were like, I want the max.
Yeah, but and the way they fixed it now is that those guys just don't sign with teams.
But then they're just sitting in the free agent but you can't sign them because they want 26 million a year.
It's like, so Kelly Oubre is sitting there, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'll pick him up for the minimum, and he's like, no, I want $12 million. That's why I don't want it in free agency. And they've made it so that if you're a free agent for 2 years, you automatically retire.
Yeah, which is terrible. Kelly Oubre retired at 31.
Oh, poor bastard.
Well.
So that actually is a perfect segue to our first topic. Would the NBA be better if Kelly Oubre retired?
How old is Kelly Oubre? Kelly Oubre's got to be pushing 30.
He's 28.
I'm going to say he's 29. He's 27. He's 27?
What was it start with?
That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right at all. Fuck, he's so handsome.
He's so irrelevant.
He's got to be the all handsome.
That's Phoenix.
Yeah, that's Phoenix. He was so good in Phoenix. He's got to be the all handsome team of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Him and Wayne Selden at the 2 and the 3, I reckon.
Him and his wife, Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre.
Just don't Google Kevon Looney wife.
Kelly Oubre wife. Alright, let's go over here. Oh, I mean, she's a gorgeous woman, but she wouldn't probably be making like the All NBA handsome team. There's a lot of bloody contests for that.
CJ McCollum's wife.
I know you're very fond of CJ McCollum's wife.
Elise.
you, Sean, you have a type, and your type is CJ McCollum's wife.
That's CJ McCollum's wife lookalike.
All right, instead of talking ball wives, should we talk ball?
Sure. Boston Miami game 4. This was going to be a sweep, but it wasn't. Boston.
It's actually a bit tedious that it wasn't.
Well, see, that's what I thought. But then before we started recording, you were like, "Oh, is the series over?"
Did I say it like that?
Yeah, you were Bill Simmons. No, you were Jacoby, being like, I don't know if Jaylen Brown gets the max bill.
Ryan Russillo on the Sunday night BS podcast, he's got to lead the league for most overtly praising Bills per game. Like, Bill will say something.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, like I always thought that Jaylen Brown couldn't dribble, and then Ryan will just be like, yeah, you did always think that, and it's we know. He just said it. You're in a room, just you two.
Yeah.
What do you do that 4 times an episode?
Yeah, it's a bit like it's like now, Bill, you've been on the Jamal Murray train for a long time now. I'm coming out of Kentucky.
Credit where credit is due. He knows who pays his checks. Like, he really gets that.
The funniest thing Ryan Russillo's ever said is when they're doing a draft show. And they were talking about they were doing an NBA draft show and then comparing it to the NFL draft, and then it's like by the 5th round you're sort of walking in and out of the room, like you're not really paying attention to it.
Yeah,
100%. And then Bill was saying something along the lines of, like, you know, I was walking in, and then I sort of double took and was like, oh my god, who went then? And then kept walking. And then the way he worded it was just like, so I was just like, I was in the kitchen, then I walked past I walked past the theater, or like the movie room, and I was like, oh my god, who's just been drafted? Then he kept on going to the living room, and then Ryan Russillo is just like, must be nice.
Actually must be.
So Boston Miami, do you reckon the Celtics are dead in the water?
Well, yes. No. Because I'm going to go full Jordan Peterson here. It depends what you mean by dead in the water.
Are they going to lose this series in 5 games?
Yeah, they're going to lose this series. That's the sentence.
Right.
They are going to lose the series because the statistical probability of them winning the next 3 games is pretty fucking low. Especially when Miami's already won 2 games on the road and they get a home game.
I've actually, Jamie, I've pulled it up. Only 3 teams have forced to Game 7 after trailing 3-0. I think this is as the home team losing the first 2 games, but I could be wrong. The 1951 Rochester Royals defeated the New York Knicks in the finals. 1994 Denver Nuggets, Utah Jazz. 2003 Dallas Mavericks, Portland Trailblazers. Those Rochi Royals, they really got up, and they would have been.
Don't sleep on the Knicks Royals rivalry of yore. I think they're going to lose, but you would be so heartened if you were in the Celtics sphere by Game 4, them actually, particularly in the second half, like playing good D,
making shots.
Yeah, I don't like I haven't really vibed with the characterization of this Miami run as like down to shooting luck, which a lot of the commentary has focused on, that this was an average 3-point shooting team in the regular season, and in the playoffs they're like an above average shooting team, which is true, but there's also a lot else that they're doing. It's just like every single person, you know, probably except when Kevin Love is in there, is like a really competent defender, and their best 2 players are like elite 2-way forces. Jimmy Butler, and can't believe that I'm going to include Gabe Vincent in this, but Jimmy Butler, Adebayo, and Gabe Vincent have been really good at creating open threes, which obviously they're hitting at a really good rate, but part of hitting threes at a good rate is getting the open threes.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about the fact that they shot poorly in this game, and I definitely don't think that the reason that they lost this game is because they finally reverted to form and this is just who they are, and they're not going to make all these threes going forward.
Yeah.
That being said, Boston defended really well, and there had been problems through the first few games with execution, and then particularly in game 3 with actually wanting it, which they didn't after Miami went on a bit of a run to end the second quarter.
I mean, also the garbage time started when the fourth quarter started. Like Mike Muscala was playing with 11 minutes to go in the fourth.
I mean, the garbage time started halfway through the third when the starters were out.
Yeah,
the starters were fully out there. When it was like 26 points, 29 points at the end of the third. All right, that's garbage. So whilst I don't think that you can kind of chalk up Miami's performance here to the real Boston and the real Miami emerged, I would not be surprised that all of this went to 6 or 7. I think Boston are in with an absolute real shot to win Game 5 in Boston, having kind of reconnected with what Boston Celtics basketball has meant over the last 2 seasons.
I mean, it's definitely the reason why we were so shocked at how this series has gone is because Boston is a much better team. Boston has the talent, and it just happens that Jaylen Brown can't put the ball in the basket.
Or on the floor.
But it's just I thought this series was over. I thought we were getting hashtag script being leaked. I thought we were getting one of those ones because when Golden State was eliminated at the end of the Lakers series, there was all the reports coming out. Shams and Woj had these articles pre-written saying chemistry, Kuminga and Poole weren't happy, bloody blah, and they just hit publish on them. And that was all the second Golden State got eliminated. But all those articles and all those reports were sort of coming out just before Game 4 tipped off. And I was like, oh, this is going to be very depressing. I said in the group chat where it's just what's the margin for this game? Is it set at 20 points? Because how are they going to show any fight? It seemed a little bit like the Celtics were just fighting for a gentleman's sweep. I will say, some of those reports that came out were a quote from Malcolm Brogdon saying that the team's identity has waned all season. One from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN saying that the Celtics, quote, never got over, unquote, Ime Udoka being dismissed. And then Jake Fisher sort of answering a question about Joe Mazzulla potentially getting fired, saying that it wouldn't be the right thing to do, but he's still fucking coaching games. He can't get fired before Game 4. So I was like, this is the mega bad vibes you could ever get heading into a playoff game. But yeah, they won and they looked really good. Strus, Vincent, Robinson, Martin and Lowry were 5 of 23 from behind the arc. Jimmy Butler hasn't really had a Jimmy Butler game this whole series. It actually, they've done a good job on him himself, and I thought at the start of the series that they were just going to let Jimmy be Jimmy, and they were letting him take those midi Jimmies. But no, he's he hasn't been hitting his threes. He hasn't been hitting some crazy threes like he was in the Bucks series. And they've just got tall people to guard the rim, like Al Horford and Rob Williams, and it's been fine. Grant Williams obviously isn't doing it, but Jimmy hasn't had a crazy 40-point game yet.
But I guess he hasn't needed to though, because he executed down the stretch of games 1 and 2 when they were close, and he executed in transition, and he executed defensively to really rip both of those games open. And in game 1 in particular, he was still able to get to, he didn't have a great, a crazy game statistically, but he was still getting to all of his spots that he wanted, the threes excluded where he hasn't been hitting them.
Yeah.
But he was still getting to the short mid and around the rim, getting to that point where he can decide, all right, I'm going to explode an attack, or I'm going to elevate and try and go over. And either of those is an awesome option for him. He was able to get there against Tatum. He was able to get there against Brown. We've seen certainly that he can get there against White, Brogdon, and even Smart. So if you put the smaller guards on him, that's an invitation for a big Jimmy game.
But you're right, and I understand that they're winning games and all that matters, that he's got a plus minus a 20 in all these games or whatever it is. But as soon as you're okay, Boston won this game, they won convincingly, they did a good job. If we're going to play devil's advocate and say, oh, is this going to go to 7? If a team's going to do it, it's going to be this team that was the 2 seed and looks confident title contenders the whole time. Then you look back on it and go, well, Jimmy hasn't, he's definitely been able to assert himself, but he hasn't been just putting his fingerprints all over the game. Not that maybe he hasn't needed to, but it's like...
I would disagree with that, though.
Right.
Because I think everything else that's happened for them offensively has happened as a result of him.
Yeah,
and he doesn't necessarily need to be shooting 60% and scoring 30 for his gravity, his ability to play make, and his ability to keep things ticking over when they need to, for that to matter.
Yeah. That's fair enough. I think it's going to be a 5-game series.
They're going to go into Boston and win.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy because it feels like it's been going on for so long, but if Miami win the next game, it's a gentleman's sweep, which is like love.
Yeah.
It just feels like this it's dragged on in my mind for so much longer than this, and it's like, wow, like they're really like in the crucible, but it's like it's been 4 games, there's 3 games left maximum, and like Miami could fully just like go in there, have a big first half, and then the game's over, because if Miami's up by 14 at halftime, like that's it. As good as Boston played, as well as Boston played in game 4, and as much as they kind of like showed all of the things that they lacked in game 3 from the mental standpoint, like I don't have any faith in this team to like come back from a big lead.
Just a deficit.
A deficit. I also don't have any faith in them to like execute down the stretch. Like if it's 6 points going into the last 5 minutes, I think Miami's going to win.
Jason Tatum just walking with the ball would probably give you those vibes.
I think for Boston to win any of these remaining games, they need to be, or in particular game 5, they need to be up by like 10 in the fourth quarter. Like it needs to be like semi out of reach.
Injury update, Gabe Vincent, who rolled his ankle. Did you see that play where he rolled his ankle? It was very weird. I thought Tatum might have undercut him there, and then they were going to review it for 5 minutes, and I was going to miss the rest of 5 minutes viewing during my lunch break.
Isn't it just the way?
But it's just complete non-contact. Gabe Vincent is questionable for Game 5. And Tyler Hero, who we all laughed and said, as if he's going to come back for the finals and not even going to make it out of the play-in. There is an update. He's been cleared for non-contact work. Somewhere Marco Holden Jeffrey is asking if that's 3-on-3 or 5-on-5. But he's, quote, unlikely to return this season, unquote, per Anthony Chiang. How would you say that?
Chang,
Miami Herald. No Tyler Hero in the finals, which is like, okay, I guess fine. Duncan Robinson's been doing a great job. And one more sort of non-injury thing, Kevin Love shouldn't be starting.
Yeah.
Just like put the twin out there.
But he's a good bullet to have in the chamber, though, situationally. But obviously, when you have 4 guys, actually maybe 5 guys on the court who can take him off the dribble, it's like, if there was only 3 guys, like maybe. But the fact that both of their bigs at any one time can take him off the dribble.
He's either going to run around or run over. Bullet in the chamber, but maybe a bullet that you like point to the ground, shoot, just to make sure that the gun works.
Or into the sky. So by the time listeners are listening,
God, they're good at that.
It'll be the day of, or the day after, or the day after the day after Game 5. So you'll kind of know where this is at. But in an attempt to date this episode, if Miami wins this series, do you think they can beat the Nuggets? The Nuggets, who we haven't talked about, but they're in the NBA Finals for the first time. For the first time in franchise history, and Nikola Jokic won Western Conference MVP, obviously. Devin Booker stiff there, I thought.
Nikola Jokic... Nikola Jokic, turns out he was just resting for the last 2 months of the season. Like, he just had a big Christmas and said, I'll see you in the finals, average triple-double.
If there were going to be... If I could name the top 3 players who would do that, him and Luka would be 2 of them. Yeah. LeBron would be the other one.
I think the Denver Nuggets... I think the Denver Nuggets would sweep that series. I think there's just such differences between the conferences, and yes, Miami are on an absolute hot streak, but Denver look extremely unstoppable, and it just sucks that we can't really see. I guess we are going to see the conferences play each other in the NBA Finals, but I I'll stop myself and say I'm just so fucking interested because we've seen very, very, very good teams come up against the Miami Heat and they just keep winning and they keep winning and they win. And if they're not going to win, Jimmy Butler says, hold on a minute, I'm going to try and win this fucking basketball game. And then he does something crazy and they win the game.
And there's kind of nobody like who at the moment I would take over Jimmy, like in terms of. Well, like let's say it's clutch time.
Andre Iguodala.
And I don't mean I want Iguodala. I don't mean clutch time like in a fucking basketball forever kind of way. I mean clutch time in a like NBA.com/stats kind of way. Last 5 minutes of a game that's 5 points or less. I would rather have Jimmy than Jokic.
Like who would you say that Jimmy Butler's your MVP of the playoffs?
I mean, getting Booker stiff.
But like Nikola Jokic just averaged a triple double.
No, for sure.
Going up against
but
Anthony Davis.
I guess because Denver has been clearly the most complete team of the playoff field in every round. Like they've done it different ways. They've really never looked like they were going to be like seriously challenged. Jokic, even though he has done so much, he hasn't like, you know, had to have the 56 points to like beat the fucking 1 seed.
Yeah.
He hasn't had to.
Well, I mean, he had 52 against the Phoenix Suns.
No, for sure. But like 52 for Jokic against the Phoenix Suns is. Oh,
you mean he hasn't had to do it like Jimmy Butler has to?
Like they would have won the series, you know. Anyway, Jimmy Butler has kind of like done it when it needed to be done, and no one else could do it. It was like it was a Jimmy thing, and there's just a je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
That I think sometimes you see on a playoff run. And sometimes you see it on a playoff run and the team loses in 7 in the second round.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't always lead to a finals berth. But,
I believe that's called the Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards still, you know, even when the je ne sais quoi was popping, he was still, what's French for throwing the ball away? Whatever that is. Listeners, get in touch at P.O. Box. No laugh?
Nah,
it's your joke. It's your fucking joke. So, anyway, I'm soft buying into the like Jimmy has that dog in him narrative because statistically speaking, like he does. He's pretty much fucking proven it scientifically.
Yeah.
There will be peer-reviewed studies that would stand up to scrutiny that this playoff run he has had that dog in him.
It's a team full of playoff and finals experience against Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a 6'5" guard who's shooting 50, 40, 90 and averaging 33 points, and the best offensive player of our life. But there's the dogs are on the side of it.
I mean, LeBron James has been playing.
Oh, no, maybe not. Definitely the last 12 months.
Yeah,
because when were the last finals? Maybe 11.5 months ago.
Yeah, probably 11.5.
Jokic is the best offensive player of the last 11 months.
Yes, I think that much. That much is indisputable.
And Michael Porter Jr. is playing defense. He's averaging 14 points, but like I can definitely see Michael Porter Jr. like if it's like Martin's guarding Murray or Jimmy Butler's on Murray. Bam and Jokic is a great matchup, but maybe the lights are going to get a little bit too bright, and Bam's going to short arm all of his mid ranges. Michael Porter Jr. again is just the guy who's just, you know, not going to be respected, which is fair enough. He's the third option, but we've seen him put up 20, 30, 36 points in playoff series before. Neither
here nor there, but I did in one of my Instagram explore scrolls the other day see, like, you know, you get like the Thinking Basketball video light on, like, it's like 50 seconds.
I've never seen it. Sounds good.
It's not by Thinking Basketball, it's just by some guy on Instagram.
Yeah.
But they'll do like cut a few clips and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And this guy was saying, and I haven't jumped on Basketball Reference to verify, so I'm just going to take him at his word. This man from Instagram. During the season, Michael Porter Jr. had 4 games where he had 2 or more assists, and he had 24 games where he had 0 assists.
This is true.
So he's 6 times more likely to not register an assist than he is to register 2 or more, which is fucking insane when you think about it. Like, that is so hard to do.
You know what he did in Game 4?
What?
He had 6 assists.
Did he actually? I fucking missed that.
Yeah, he had like a fucking career high in assists.
My man's moving the ball.
Now, where are we? What's his name? Michael. No, that's definitely a 1.
Were you thinking of Gordon, who had 5?
Nah, I don't give a crap what Aaron does.
No, you do. Didn't you say
6 assists
in Game 3? 6 assists.
14,
you don't give
6,
a crap
and 10.
what Aaron does. Didn't you say that highlight 10 times where he looks at Murray and goes like this? He does with the eyes, and then Murray goes back door and he finds him. Didn't you say that?
Man, I saw this tweet that was just so true, but it's like Aaron Gordon got traded to Denver and quickly figured out if he just does everything Jokic says, he's just going to make a career for the rest of his life. And you'll see sometimes in the game, Jokic will just like point to him and be like, go there, do this, do that. And just without even thinking, he just says, like, yes, I'll do it. I know I'm going to get 2 points off it, and it's so cool.
Yeah, people in my netball team haven't figured that out with me yet. Unfortunately, I'm doing the point. They're staying where they are. We did have a very good win the other day.
I had a good win on Monday as well.
Yeah, I saw you with the little medal in your mouth. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
We beat a team whose shooter was 6'6", and I played goal defense.
Really?
So their goal attack was 6'6". I played goal defense.
What'd you do?
Nothing better than jumping up and knocking the ball away from a tall bloke when they throw a
Really?
lob. Because the tall bloke just doesn't. He just expects it.
I hate tall people.
Yeah,
Pricks.
I mean, you're standing here at significantly above the Australian median.
6'2" in shoes.
Yeah, 6'2" in shoes.
And for height.
I mean, I'm 5'8", so you know, there's.
You got to wear bigger shoes, man. That's my secret.
Yeah. Anyway, you are.
I'll pick Denver in 4 or 5. What would you pick for the finals?
I'll pick Denver in 6.
Yeah, it's going back to what I said. It's just mega mindset versus guys who haven't been here before, and maybe Denver win this, and it's like, 2015 Warriors, are they going to start something?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been here before, but everyone on that team has like
they've lost
dozens of playoff games. They've all played in the conference finals.
They've lost to Rodney Hood in a game winner in overtime 3 of Game 7.
Hood.
Man. I think he actually plays for Shenzhen. That's no bullshit. Let's
fact check that.
Rodney, talk amongst yourselves.
Rodney Hood, that's a deep cut. That is such a deep cut.
Remember how good he was going to be?
Yeah, well, remember how okay he was. He last played for the Clippers, so good on him.
Professional. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, well, he's never played for Shenzhen or even ostensibly in China, so you must be thinking about a different Hood. Milwaukee, yeah. Oh well, take the L on this one, Shawnee.
Milwaukee, which province is that in? I've never heard of it. Do they have noodles?
Maybe that's where Hot Pot came from.
Have you ever had Hot Pot?
Nah, because I don't think it's very vegan friendly.
It's probably not. So there's a Hot Pot near my work, like a kick of the footy, right? It's the Panda Hot.
On a good day or a bad day?
Oh man, you got a little bit of legs in here. So let's just call it a bad day. It's quite far actually. So I walk past it every morning. I go to work, and I smell it. They're cooking the soups at 8 a.m.
in the morning.
They're getting it ready.
Oh, yeah.
I can smell it. So
that's a hot pot.
Gotta go one day. It just smells like pepper, really.
Yeah. Sichuan pepper.
And a few of my colleagues don't want to go. And it's like, okay, that's fair enough. Like, if you don't want to go, you don't want to go. But I do want to go one day. And then I've looked in, I've seen, like, it's a hot pot that they fill up with broth. You can get a divider. So if you and I went out together, I would get a divider. You would get your mushrooms and your vegetables, and I would get some Wagyu beef or something, right? But I just don't know how good it's going to be. Like, isn't it just soup? My friend went to the Carlton one, which has the massive golden dragon hanging from the roof in the middle of the whole like dining.
Where is
dining
it in
area.
Carlton?
Probably not Lygon Street.
Yeah, if it was, I would know because I'm up and down Lygon.
True. Well, we'll figure it out off air.
I'll figure it out.
And I said, oh, well, it looks quite good. It's quite expensive. That must be like pretty good. And he
Yeah.
goes, no, man, they just came out with some frozen meat and then just threw it in the sauce, threw it in the soup. And I'm like, well, that seems like something I would do at home.
It does, doesn't it?
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, this isn't a good conversation to have with a vegan because like you'd just be having sort of broth with.
No, don't make that decision for me.
Okay.
I'll have the conversations. You know, I mean, to take the listeners behind the kimono here. On Tuesday night, I came home from work, and maybe it was Monday night. I came home from work, and I went via East Brunswick Coles. And I'm a Woolworths shopper. Like, I go to Woolworths.
That's crazy. I'm a Kolesh man.
I don't shop at Kolesh, but they have Nature's Kitchen, the home brand. They do really good vegan agnolotti, mushroom agnolotti. And I was really feeling like some mushroom agnolotti. Going to make myself a nice red sauce. Go stickers everywhere saying that they're having supply issues with their chilled pasta range. And they only had Rana, spinach and ricotta tortellini. Obviously Rana is like the goat tier supermarket stuffed pasta. So I was like, you know what, I'm in the fucking mood for some stuffed pasta. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna eat the cheese, ate the ricotta, had a full serve of it, like a lot of food. Like we're probably talking half a kilogram of combined sauce and pasta.
Yeah. Fuck.
Felt pretty. Yeah, it was delicious. Loved it. The next day, I did 8 shits. I shit 8 times in like a 12-hour period at work.
Yeah.
They weren't like, oh, I've done 3 and my stomach's upset, I'm gonna go and sit down and do like a little like poop, like fart for a bit and then just a little bit. They were all full bodied. Like they were like a full, like again, we're probably talking a couple 100 grams each. Like if we had done the before and after on the scales, it would have been instructive.
You know the best way to figure that out though on the scales?
How much?
Is just shit right on them.
Yeah. Okay, well, alright. Speaking of
shitting
dumps,
right on the scales.
Speaking of dumps, fucking hell, you're stepping on my toes, bro. We've got a good old-fashioned news dump here to get to in the second half of this episode.
It's been a minute.
Do you wanna bloody lead us off with some just absolutely dog shit news?
News. So we've got 4 James Harden updates. The first one is what everything is pretty much based around, is that the Houston Rockets, quote, expect, unquote, to sign James Harden in free agency, according to Keith Pompey of the Philadelphia Inquirer. James Harden, if he was to re-sign at his max with the Philadelphia 76ers, it would be 4 for $210 million. If he signs with the wording was a rival team, but if he signs with another team, it'll be 4 for 201.7. So not actually that much money going by the wayside here if he were to leave in free agency. The report also mentioned that Harden's mum still lives in Houston, even though he's been to 2 different Eastern.
Did the report also mention that James Harden's probably made $300 million in his career, so an extra $9 million over 4 years is unlikely to sway him?
No, I didn't actually say that. But this is, look, I'll skip to the last thing I've written here, coming from Sean Carroll of the Deep Joe NBA podcast. I still think this is a massive fucking cover up for the tampering allegations, where he forgot to decline his player option. Like, he forgot to send the papers off to the league office, and then it just so happened that Daryl Morey, by not signing him to the extension, just so happened that Daryl Morey could sign his best friend PJ Tucker. That's his best friend being both James Harden and Daryl Morey's. And then everyone's like, tampering, someone take a fucking second round pick of him. Won't someone think of the second round picks? And he said, no, I was going to pick up my player option anyway. And then immediately the report came out, oh, he's thinking about going back to Houston, because it was the only likely destination. If he had said, oh, I want to join Charlotte, all of a sudden Charlotte fans are like, oh my fucking god, we're going to sign a free agent, not Cordell Jefferson. This is fucking cool. But Houston's like believable enough. They're one of the 6 cap space teams this season. They're hopeless enough. They're poorly managed enough that it's like, oh, I could see them like signing a 34-year-old former MVP to pair with their 21-year-old young rising stars. And I just think that it's so much noise, and it's looking so believable that when Adam Silver comes a knocking saying, hey, you just re-signed with the Philadelphia 76ers, and you weren't an All-NBA player then, and you're actually saving a lot of money, and you've still got PJ Tucker on your roster, we're going to find you, Daryl Morey. It just seems like it just seems like James Harden's going to turn around and be like, oh, no, I actually want to compete for titles, and what I can do is win here in Philly. But I will mention his absolute fucking give up on basketball in the last game of that Boston series probably indicates he doesn't want to be there. That's just all the information I've seen and what I've seen from it. What do you think, Dante?
It's too elaborate.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon it's too elaborate because the thing that it relies on is complicit media reporting, and there's too much media reporting about it from too many different places for those people to be complicit in the, it relies on them being complicit, or it relies on them being under Daryl Morey's spell, where Daryl Morey can say this is what we're doing, and he knows that James Harden isn't gonna go. He knows it's an elaborate cover up, but no one else does.
Yeah.
And that's why they're also faithfully reporting it. I think neither of those two things can be true. I don't think. That being said, like I wouldn't be surprised to see Harden go, but I'm wouldn't be surprised to see Harden go based on the other things, like his give up in not because of like all of the reporting and stuff.
Yeah.
The reporting for what it's worth. Some of which coming from Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report. By the way, yeoman's work. Harden takes competitive basketball and basketball freedom to be himself, which like just fuck off. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, so you can't have both.
Oh, wait, you're on a 2-seed and you're seeking competitive basketball. Yeah, okay, I get it. It's also not 2018.
Yeah.
And playing like it is, Harden in particular, he said something. So this is the 5-minute rag on Harden section. We're putting aside our critical thinking about who is initiating the media narrative and whether or not there's a master plan to avoid NBA sanctions here. I'm at least going to lean into ragging on Harden. He said this thing in the playoffs after his really good game one, the 45-point game one in the second round.
Yeah.
He was like, man, you guys have been so hard on me, all this time. You always criticize me for I'm scoring 35 points but my team's not winning. So then I changed. I'm scoring 23 points and getting 12 assists and I'm bringing everyone into the game, and then you criticize me and say, oh, he's not the old James Harden, he's not scoring enough. And the conceit of that comment is that you guys criticized me, so I changed the way that I played, and you'll just never be happy because you're always trying to find something wrong with the way that I'm playing. And that's not true, because no player consciously is like, oh, the media doesn't like that I'm All-NBA first team every single year and winning multiple scoring titles. I guess I'm just going to fundamentally change the way that I play for the media. No, you just lost it. You just are not as good as you were, and trying to make it seem like you had like an active role in that and it was a conscious shift. Like, no, it's not. When Embiid's been out, you haven't been scoring 35 points a game. When you've needed to score 35 points a game, you haven't. It's not like that's been there and you've put it to the side. You have just lost it.
You're just 34 years old.
Well, and the other thing as well, like, not to lean into the TMZ side of things, but Harden, more so than other superstars of this generation who have been like all NBA first team level players, or Harden's like probably the shooting guard on the all decade team for the last decade.
Him or Rodney Hood.
Him or Rodney Hood. He hasn't like done the extra work and like taken care of his body and like really done things to mitigate the decline in his athleticism. And now that he's here and he's like, early to mid 30s and he's declining, it's like not actually all of that shocking. Anyway, I just really push back on this like victim narrative from these players, because obviously it would be really hard to sit in a media scrum and have people saying like, why aren't you as good as you used to be? But like, you get paid $50 million a year, and part of it is that you just have to maybe answer a tough question every now and then. If you have your own self-esteem in order, James Harden, you will be able to handle those questions, and then you'll be able to get in your Lamborghini and drive to your $10 million house.
The final bit of reporting around here that I thought was relevant was that Jalen Green, while on Paul George's podcast, said, quote, playing with Harden could help and hurt at the same time. I will come in here and speak as one of the experts who had just put this team together on 2K My League. It's quite good on 2K, yeah. It's quite good.
What's Jalen Green's release like on 2K?
Oh, really good.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys where if he's anywhere even like looking at the paint and you press square, it's just going to be a dunk. Like he hits the animation and absolutely nothing like real life whatsoever.
Where are you at on Jalen Green as a NBA player in the next 2 to 3 years?
I was thinking about it. Like, remember when we were all sort of down on De'Aaron Fox? And De'Aaron Fox has sort of surprised me with how fucking good he is. Like, he's obviously clutch player of the year, candidate for most improved if it wasn't for everyone else having like crazy most improved candidacies. And you know, he's a legitimate all-star, very good player, did absolutely fucking crazy shit in the playoffs, and that's awesome to see that he's like stepping up in the playoffs. That's what you want. And 12 months ago, there was some quote saying, oh, should they just like trade him to Houston, and like Houston can sort of jumpstart their rebuild because they don't have a point guard, and Sacramento can just take a different look at a different guy. And that was like 5 years into De'Aaron Fox's career. And if you had asked me, so we're heading into Jalen Green's third year, if you had asked me heading into De'Aaron Fox's third year, what's it going to be like? Like, what are you feeling? I'll be like, oh, he's going to have a breakout, and it's his third year. He's figured out what he's going to do, and then he's going to be the all-star. And it's like, no, that just happens like 4 years on. That just happens, you know, at the 6-year mark. And I was thinking about it with Jalen Green, saying like, Jalen Green, like, you know, he's had this pedigree and he looks really good and he does good things, but he's on a horrible team that's had horrible coaching. And then I'm just thinking, oh, maybe he's on the De'Aaron Fox mold where it's like, you know, in year 6, he's just going to come to the playoffs and it's like, oh, you're actually just like Filipino Jimmy Butler. But he's just been, I would love to think that, but he's been doing heaps of media shit. Like, he's just been doing heaps of, which is like, you know, he can do what he wants. He's not playing basketball anymore. But at least with De'Aaron Fox, apart from the crypto shit, you never really heard of him. Like
Crypto shit.
Yeah, but you never really.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
he scammed everyone out of like $1 million.
Yeah, but it also, so all that does is actually take away 5 points off your playoff average.
Yeah, and add 1.4 turnovers per game. The thing with Fox, though, and why I don't think that's an apples to apples comparison with what we're projecting for Green, is that Fox's was his third or fourth season. He was like genuinely unlucky to not be an all-star. He was fucking awesome. Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Was this last year?
Jamie, let's pull that up. It was 3 seasons ago. The Kings were okay. He had a really awesome season, and it was like, shit.
The Luke Walton season.
It was like, like, oh shit, like this guy is actually fucking awesome. And then he took the step back, and everyone was like, oh, actually, he was really shit. It was this one. He went from averaging 21 to averaging 25 and 7, shooting 48% from the field.
Yeah. He's shooting 51. That's awesome.
Yeah. He was three turnovers with 7.5 assists, which for your like ball dominant point guard is a pretty fucking good assist to turnover ratio.
On a bad and
then
fast team.
the next season he kind of like was like, oh, he's not as good and he's not having the impact that he's having, and everyone was like, oh, let's write him off.
Yeah.
And that's when the trade talks started coming, and then he just picked it up. So over the last 2 seasons he's had 2 like elite level.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason why he didn't make the All-Star team that season is because the guards was like Steph Curry, Dame Lillard,
Luka Doncic.
Yeah. That was the
Chris Paul Renaissance
Chris Paul Renaissance.
Phoenix.
Yeah. Booker was All-Star that year. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
You know, probably not getting into that group, but he was still really good. Whereas Green, like, what's Green shown so far?
Yeah, that's you're right.
I feel like Green is above average at like a lot of things, but it's just this. It's just like.
But he's had no direction. Like, that team's not. Yeah, he's not going to be rewarded. I sound pretty SEN-y right now, but he's not going to be rewarded for doing like the good little things and just like helping his team, because he's playing with KPJ.
He also hasn't done those things though.
Yeah,
and there is an opportunity for young players, no matter what their situation is, to like be a tone setter and to do those things. And I feel like it's fair to say that he hasn't done those things. But also from just a player archetype perspective, like, I can find 6'5" scoring guard who's like almost as good at scoring as Jalen Green.
Yeah.
I can just find that without having to like invest $30 million a year into that player's extension.
So he's like,
if that's the skill that my team's lacking, I can go and get that.
can I just like jump a few steps in your take and say, you calling him like young Rudy Gay?
No, well, I mean, like, yeah, kind of. I think that's actually a really good comparison, because it's like he's not a very good playmaker. He's not one of these, like, you know, he's not like a Westbrook or a Harden where it's like, wow, the ball is just in your hands, but you actually are genuinely like a preternatural passer with a really good skill set for bringing your teammates into the game. And I mean, he's clearly not a good defender. That's, you know, he's young, he has the frame and the athleticism to be a good defender. We'll see if that comes. But I guess I'm just like, for him to kind of like deliver, he kind of needs to become Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
And Anthony Edwards was kind of showing that he was Anthony Edwards in his first and second seasons.
Yeah.
Whereas Jalen Green, I feel like, hasn't.
And you and I don't necessarily love Anthony Edwards. Like he had a good playoffs, and he impressed me a bit these playoffs. But we don't really love what he does.
Well, I mean, I don't like. I'm not in love with it. Like, I think he's like going to be a top 15 player, but like Anthony Edwards is going to be a 5-time All-Star. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think right now, if you told Houston Jalen Green's going to be a 5-time All-Star, they would be like, "Oh, fuck it, we'll take that."
Yeah.
We will take that, because Anthony Edwards, like, he's really good. He improved his defense. He's got the frame and the, you know, the build and the athleticism to be really good on that, and he just needs to try, which he did this season.
Yeah.
And he scores 25 a game.
Yeah. And he's not with D'Lo anymore, so everything should be up. Speaking of not with D'Lo anymore, right after being eliminated, the Los Angeles Lakers had internal discussions on trading for Trae Young, according to Johan Buha of The Athletic. Wow, Trae Young, he's that superstar who plays for the Atlanta Hawks. What would he be doing on the Los Angeles Lakers? Good question, Dante. First of all, his agent is one Rich Paul for Clutch Sports, but when you heard this, you were probably thinking, how the fuck's that going to happen? I'll tell you.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I'll tell you how it's going to happen.
Are you a mind reader?
So for this, and I'll just throw in a Kyrie Irving sign and trade. It actually doesn't have to be a sign trade. I think I got that wrong. They can just straight out sign Kyrie Irving. So the Lakers can go down the cap space route this offseason by declining Malik Beasley's team option. Which, can you guess how much money his team option is worth?
I'm gonna say it's worth 12.
It's 16.
Fuck. That's a lot. I thought I was being optimistic with 12.
They can waive Mo Bamba and Jared Vanderbilt, who are completely non-guaranteed, but, you know, Vanderbilt's definitely a good player if you have him on. I think it's 7. Let D'Lo, Rui, Lonnie Walker, and Dennis Schroeder walk if they make anything above the minimum.
Oh, you mean half of your playoff rotation?
And arguably one of your best guards. And then you can throw $29 million at Kyrie Irving, or I think. But then they would have to trade for Trae Young, and they don't have any assets. That's right.
That's kind of the pull.
That's why I've written sign and trade, so they can. Yeah, that's it. They're not going to get Trae Young. So I thought this was here just to be like, D'Lo has said ever since he came to LA, I really like it here. I get to do things. I'm not with that French prick anymore. How cool's LA? And then he's just absolutely stunk it up because he's D'Angelo Russell is not very good at basketball. And then following the Western Conference Finals, he's like, I can really see myself being in the purple and gold for the long term. And I think this is the Lakers front office, and maybe I'm giving Pelinka too much credit, but I think it's the front office being like, okay, let's give Rich Paul just a little bit of a free PR lap for a day, but let's just really make it clear to everyone that we're looking for a point guard, so let's just pick a good point guard in the NBA, so that it's like this is no longer the D'Angelo Russell's the point guard show. That's what I think's going on, because there's way too many hoops to jump through just to sign Kyrie Irving, which comes with its own problems, let alone Trae Young. What else?
It does come with its own problems, doesn't it?
What?
Signing Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to any of the last 197 episodes of this podcast for an in-depth rundown of the problems that having Kyrie Irving on your team.
I will mention the problems do change. which is a positive and a negative.
One year it's anti-vax, and then the next year it's anti-Semitism.
And what's it going to be next year?
It's like that'll put the bums in seats. Like, oh my god, why is Kyrie gonna be inactive for this game? He assaulted a woman, an elderly woman trying to cross the street.
If they don't trade for Trae Young or sign and trade Kyrie Irving, which it's a report that I haven't thrown in here, but apparently the Mavs had a wink under the table handshake deal done when they made that trade, and they're just going to sign Kyrie to the max.
It's worth just saying, like, the Lakers have no assets to trade for Trae Young. Trae Young is a multiple-time All-NBA player who's like 24 years old, and he's kind of like a little bit shit, but he's still that, and the Hawks will value him as that, and the Lakers owe every single future pick that they have, except for one. 29. The Lakers have one first-round pick that they could potentially trade for Trae Young.
Well, as soon as July 1st hits, they'll also have access to a 30 swap.
As you were.
The other route which the Lakers can go, which they probably fucking will go because this Trae Young thing is bullshit.
Yeah.
Is re-signing Rui. Do you reckon it's going to be above the MLE? Do you reckon?
Who's his agent?
Utah Watanabe. That's not even funny. Lonnie Walker. Do you reckon his next contract's going to be above the taxpayer MLE?
No.
But he had a good game 4 against the Warriors, who actually turned out to be bad. Do you reckon Dennis Schroeder's more than a minimum player after?
Fuck. Dennis Schroeder, someone might pay Dennis Schroeder the full MLE. He was genuinely a good two-way guard in this playoff run.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, he was the best defender.
Maybe he looks like that because the Lakers didn't have any. Like, who's he being?
No, he was good. He was legitimately good. But
I mean, like, you compare him to like Lonnie Walker and D'Lo, and it's like, wow, he's such a good. He was genuinely good though.
Yeah.
I think someone could talk themselves into a short term, like a 2 for 20. What's the MLA these days? Like 11.
6. The full MLA will be 12. Yeah.
12. 2 for 24 for Schroeder. I don't think anyone's dumb enough to do a longer term deal than that. But
what? So I don't know. 4 for 85?
Yeah, something like that.
Does that hypothetical shooter team, does their name rhyme with the Barbago Bulls?
I was thinking the Momoit Mistons.
That's disgusting.
Someone like that.
No way.
Someone like that. Just a team that's like, oh, we need a veteran point guard who can set the tone for our young players who don't want to defend, and they're like this guy, ignoring the last 10 years of his career.
I will mention that when he did get traded in a salary dump from Boston to Houston,
a salary dump when he was earning $5.9 million.
he was actually he was actually a good vet. Remember Kelly Iko of The Athletic had that report where he's like, Schroeder's really picked up this role of just instructing the young guys how to play, and then the coach got fired for not managing. Maybe it's KPJ. It's his fault.
Yeah. Maybe it is, but also he instructed them how to play. Yet it's Jalen Green and KPJ and the young guys he's instructing how to play.
Yeah. D'Lo is going to be an interesting free agent because it's very clear.
Do you think D'Lo is more than a taxpayer MLE player?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I think if you get him on that TPMLE, he will be good for that. Or he'll be good for a minimum.
Yeah, but the problem is if you get him on the TPMLE, you just have to play him 18 minutes per game. If you get him on the TPMLA and then you make him your starting point guard or your sixth man, the first guard off the bench, he's gonna play like.
I know what a sixth man is. He's if you give him anything above the minimum, he's going to be like, oh, my career is so fine. I don't know why I'm not making $24 million anymore. Could you see him on Washington?
Oh, I could see anyone on Washington. Who the fuck knows what's going on? Who knows what's going on? Bleacher Report today gave me a notification that they gave me the alert, the alarm bell.
Trajan Langdon.
That fucking
Michael Winger,
they're poaching the Clippers, the Clippers GM to become their president of basketball operations, and it was like the ultimate just drop their alarm emoji. It's not an alarm moment for that. Like, it's not an alarm. a non-playoff team is stealing the executive you've never heard of from a first-round exit playoff team.
He's the architect of the Los Angeles Clippers.
Lawrence Frank was the architect of the Los Angeles Clippers.
That's
not an alert.
Yeah. It's It's
even sending me a notification is a bit of a stretch.
It's giving send the fucking notey, brother. But it's giving Kevin Young will interview with the Milwaukee Bucks. Like it needs to be on that tier.
Yeah, and you can't say breaking. You have to say report. Like if you're saying anything, to say report. You can't be saying breaking. Like
don't. Okay, no, don't even say report. Just say per at the end.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Any notifications? Yeah, how about that Blaze in Sydney? No, that's no bullshit.
No, I know, but is it an ABC one?
Yeah.
ABC's been going off sending me random noties being like, breaking, 3 pedestrians are dead in a car crash in northwest Victoria.
Yeah.
Police
you signed
are on
up for
the scene.
Vic News, you dingus.
I'm unsubscribed now because I was getting like 2 car crash notifications a day.
Yeah. One time,
condolences to the family, but I don't need to be getting that.
One time I was driving to Bright with a friend of the program, Jackson.
Beautiful part of the world.
Oh, gorgeous part of the world. Dante's having a sip of his beer, by the way. So we were driving to Bright, and then like my phone was just like laying down in the middle, and then like so my friend Jackson's next to me. I'm driving, and then it pops up. And the ABC News looks a little bit like the Bleacher Report.
It does.
So we saw it, and then he's like, "Whoa, something's come in!" Right? This must have been during like the off season. It's just like
free agency.
Yeah, right. So he's picked it up, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know. Did Keldon Johnson sign with the Bucks or some shit, right?" And he's like, "No, woman stabbed to death." Or it was something even worse, where it's just like the police have dropped the case trying to figure out.
A bit heinous. We just don't need to be getting that. We actually just don't need to be getting that.
No.
Yeah. Keep it in the holster, ABC.
So one of these will be quick. One of these will be a little bit less than quick. The Rockets are going to target Brook Lopez, Dylan Brooks, Austin Reeves, and Cam Johnson in free agency, coming from Kelly Iko of The Athletic. For what it's worth, my 2K minor league that I did before, I did throw the bag at Cam Johnson.
How much I set you back?
Gave him the respect he deserved, 4 for 80,
Bloody
matched by the Brooklyn Nets. That's why I had to move in a different direction. Get Brook Lopez. Really doesn't fit well with Şengün and the other junior who plays the center position. But yeah, this is the Bucks are not the Bucks. The Rockets are fucking weird.
so weird.
No,
it's Raphael Stone over there.
Yeah, but this is like his last chance to be good.
The Fountain of Stone is a bit stinky. The water in the Fountain of Stone is a bit like tepid and like. There's a bit of moss growing at the bottom of the fountain.
Do you remember defending him when he first got the gig?
Nah.
So,
we've been doing this a long time.
So when he first got the gig, right, maybe it was just after Tillman Fertitta bought the team.
Tillman Dirty Fingers Fertitta.
Frittata. And then I was like, oh yeah. No, Daryl Morey left because of the Hong Kong stuff. It was like a mid-season move.
Yeah.
And then James Harden asked out, and then Raphael Stone did a good job at negotiating the future of the Brooklyn Nets for the Rockets. But then I was just like, man, fuck this guy. Like, he's one of Dirty Fingers' henchmen. Like he's literally like been following that guy around. Like he's been in Frittata's like organizations forever. He's just elevated this dude. He's not even a basketball guy. Like, get you and me in there. Like, we're investing in scouting. Like, we're just like we're getting second draft guys. Like, we're giving Lonnie Walker a real good look. Like shit like that, right? I was like, this motherfucker's not even a basketball guy. And you were like, hold on. He just negotiated like a good James Harden deal. Like, it's hard to make a superstar trade in the best time. But from a positional weakness, right? This guy's rocked up fat.
Is that what you think I sound like?
I'm just not good at accents.
That's your impression of me. Is a basketball idiot. Oh, no.
No, but you just defended him, and I was like, oh, maybe I should like check myself. Like, fuck me, I'm actually giving this Stone fella a bit of work. But then he drafted. It's great that I can't remember his name. Who's the Who's their tall power forward who should be a centre who just fades in and out of games? The guy they just drafted.
Tari Eason?
No, that.
Kenyon Martin Jr.?
Yeah. No.
I don't know. Let's
Who was the third pick?
fades in. Oh, Jabari Smith Jr.
Jabari Smith Jr.
Yeah.
Like, he fades in and out of your head, let alone the basketball court.
Well, I fucking just said a second round pick and an undrafted player before I said Jabari Smith
Yeah,
Jr.
Tari Breakout.
Yeah.
That's his Instagram handle. And now they're going to fucking sign a Brook, whether that be Lopez or Dylan.
I just don't think that they're thinking about Şengün
As a generational player.
yeah. They're kind of like, all right, if Şengün is like an average starting centre or like a good off the bench centre, like, all right, well, it doesn't really matter.
Some people are saying that he might be a bench. He might be like a really good bench centre. He might be like Bobby Porter's back and pass.
Which is fine. And so in that case, Brook Lopez next to Jabari Smith Jr. would be cool.
Yeah. And James Harden, for what it's worth. He goes Jokic, Sabonis, Şengün, Sean.
We're talking about big man passes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Big man passes. If we were going screen setters, you're definitely above Şengün. Yeah, you're definitely above.
Thanks, brother.
There's nothing more comforting as a ball handler than when Shawnee Carroll is coming up and your man's in the crosshairs and you just know, all right, if I'm going right, I'm gonna get where I'm going. You know,
And then I'm going to roll and I'm going to. I feel like I fumble a bit on the court as
I
well.
won't find you anyway. I'm going straight for the rim.
Well, if I roll, I'm sealing. I'm doing
assist.
this. I'm doing the statums. Let's move on because the Rockets are. I just want them to throw $40 million at Chris Middleton, and then he just continues to be injured. Monty Williams.
Be mint.
Monty Williams declined the opportunity to coach the Detroit Pistons, also known as the Mamoit Mistons, with a quote big money offer, also known as a big money moffer, according to Mark Stein. There were ties between Troy Weaver and Monty Williams during their time with OKC. And yeah, in this same report from Mark Stein, Monty's going to be, quote, picky with his next destination. I didn't know this, but he's owed $20 million over the next 3 years from the Phoenix Suns. I'd love to be a fired coach. Like, Tibbs is probably still getting paid by the Bulls somehow. But this is fine. If I was a good vibes coach like Monty Williams, who, is good at his job, and there's a heap of contenders that, like, if he might be coaching the Milwaukee Bucks, I would much rather that than the Detroit Pistons, because I'm just not too crash hot on the future of the Detroit Pistons. What say you?
I think from analysing this from Monty's perspective, if he goes to a contender or like a really good team and just does what he did in Phoenix, in the macro, where he takes a team that's really talented and has a lot of success with them but ultimately can't deliver, if you look at that as like him not delivering as the worst case scenario, the Detroit Pistons job or another job exactly like it will still be there in 4 years.
Yeah.
If you go to the Bucks and you can't get the most out of Giannis, but you win 50 plus games every season and you go to the conference finals twice, people will look on that and say like, oh, like, was it a failure that you never made the finals or you never won a chip or whatever? And even if the consensus is that that's true, you'll still be able to go and join a shit team that has a whole bunch of young players and like get the big money offer.
Yeah.
So you may as well throw your hat into the ring for the Bucks and the Sixers and who the fuck else is going? The Raptors. You know, there are like a few, if not perennial deep playoff teams, then in the case of the Raptors, like a team that's like loaded with assets and all NBA-esque players, the option will still be there in 4 years for that big money move. So I think he's right. I am skeptical of his ability to be that coach though, that like goes to that new situation and like turns it gives that team like the leg up.
Did he arrive at the same time as Chris Paul, or was it a year before?
He was a year before. He had one really bad year.
Who was the point guard then? Ricky Rubio?
Yeah, it was Ricky Rubio. Yeah, friend of the show. He had one like 29 win season.
With Rick?
And then we went to the bubble. That was his. It was 1920 was his first season. And then we went to the bubble and had that really heartening 8-0 run. And then, after that, it was Chris Paul. And then the Suns, as we have known them for the last few years, were born.
Yeah.
God, I want DeAndre Ayton off my team. Just not a Monty comment.
Have you thought about what we said last week? Jordan Poole for DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah, I still wouldn't do it.
Yeah. What if we throw the 17th pick in there?
Nah. If you still had Jim Wiseman, maybe I'd think about it. Throw Looney in there and we'll talk about it. Nah, I mean, literally just get him out. This is the ultimate moment for the SpongeBob let's kill him meme.
I wrote an article for pippinaneasy.com today, which will be live by the time you listen to this, based off a report from Sean Devaney of Heavy that the Suns just looking at ways to get the fuck off
If
DeAndre Ayton.
you say Nikola Vucevic,
nah. So one of them was the Bulls, obviously writing for the Bulls blog, at Bulls Beat blog on Twitter. One of them was the Bulls, but they said we don't want Vooch. We're not going to do any deal that involves a Vooch sign and trade. We want DeRozan, if anything.
Oh, even that.
But just it's just difficult because the next team's going to talk themselves into him. Just be like, oh, can you just be Bismack Biyombo on steroids? And he's like, hold on, can I post up maybe 10 times a game?
Can I shoot an elbow jumper every single time I touch the ball? Can I never commit fully to a screen? Yeah. He plays like me in the key, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Even I'm not afraid to shoot free throws. If I find myself getting an offensive board, I'm going up. He's fucking going with the dribble away from the rim over the left shoulder right hook. Come on, brother.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I've said it before on this show, but if I was 7 foot, I'd be
Forget
doing it
about
a
it.
hell of a lot differently than him.
You'll be switching codes. You'll be playing footy once you turn 30.
Mate, if I...
Oh! Did I tell you I had lunch with Josh Kennedy?
Nah. Josh Kennedy from the West Coast Eagles.
Nah, the Sydney Swans.
Oh, Josh P. Kennedy.
Okay.
Yeah. What's he like?
No, he's good.
What's his...
I didn't actually know it was him until we left the pub. So he works for the company next door to us at work.
Right.
And then he was like, they're a company of 10 or whatever, and we've got the 6 or 7 of us.
Yeah.
So we're on a massive table, so I'm like far enough away from him, and then my colleague was like, because I'll try to keep this as PG and as secretive as possible.
Yeah, I've heard some things about Josh Kennedy anyway, so
really?
Probably would want to keep it PG.
Oh, I didn't know. You've just straight up stalked him on LinkedIn.
Mate, he's there.
Corporate speaker. I didn't know he did that. Anyway, he likes basketball, and I was wearing a Deep 2 jumper, and then my mate at work was like, the Deep 2, look at this, it's a podcast. And I was like, yeah, that's me, mate. Yeah. Oh, no.
He's got
let's not dox him.
He's got on his LinkedIn professional AFL footballer.
Yeah, but fuck, Dante, are you not doing that?
No, I so would be. But
yeah, I think it was his father.
Anyway, head over to linkedin.com/IN/Joshua Kennedy.
Anyway, I didn't talk to him much, but then I saw him because we're in the same office, and then after he knew that I like basketball, walked in. This is actually a pretty unique take. I know Josh Kennedy's thoughts on the basketball.
Yeah.
This is right after Game 3, Boston-Miami, right?
Can I guess what his thoughts are?
Okay, but I'll set the scene. So I'm sitting... By the way, he drinks coffee out of a Scorpa cup. A Scorpa espresso cup.
Yeah, one of the little ones.
Yeah,
bloody hell.
Is he Italian?
Nah, he's
Neither
not.
am I. I've got him as well.
But his wife... His wife's South American.
Really? So
Yeah.
that's why she plays the Italian card game. I beat an Italian in Scorpa. We've had that Italian chick stay with us.
Yeah. Oh, you beat it.
Yeah, I beat her. Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Mate. It was 11-7. So I'm in the kitchen cleaning my utensils.
Yeah.
And then he comes in. How about that basketball, man? Oh God, Jimmy's good. Yeah. And he's like, he's just unbelievable, isn't he? He just forces his team over the line. I'm like, yeah. But Denver on a roll as well. What do you think was his take next?
I reckon his take is Jimmy's got that dog in him.
It wasn't. His take was a lot more measured. It was, it's going to be a good finals. And then the follow up after that, I was like, oh, but Denver haven't lost a game at home, and he's like, oh, but he said we've ruled out Jimmy every series, and I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, he's learning from his mistakes. So you're telling me that you had a conversation with Josh Kennedy in your workplace,
and I'm telling you, I'll probably have one tomorrow. You had a captive
audience, and he knows you do a basketball podcast, and you didn't say, "You want to come on?" What are you doing?
Do you want to one?
Yeah, you're telling me that Josh Kennedy wants to come and sit around the table with a few souls and talk some basketball with us. Yeah, I'll have him on.
I think he lives in the southeast, but
yeah, but you work in. Man, I'll come to redacted south. We can do it. We can do it at your workplace in redacted south side suburb.
I got to work when I'm at my workplace.
Yeah, but say I'll come 5:30.
Was he good at footy?
Yeah, he's very good at footy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
captain.
I mean, have a look at this.
You showing me his work experience. He used to play for the Sydney Swans.
Have a look at his cover photo.
He won a ring.
It's him. Yeah, it's him lifting the.
Who's that, yo?
I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. Yeah, that's Kieran Jack. I don't know who any of these other guys are though.
Is one of them Todd Keneally?
Yeah, probably. Who's the most Irish-looking bloke there? That's probably him.
Nah, you're thinking.
Anyway, there's Joshy behind the shucker.
Who's that?
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Yeah, this is before my time of really paying attention to the footy, so I'm not really sure. That's John Longmire there. You can kind of half see his head. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, we've got about 3 of about 15. But yeah, he was good at footy, yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
You've got to be pretty good at footy to play for 16 years.
Yeah.
Last week here, let's just check my LinkedIn notifications.
So many of them. No, but so see how you getting shit ones, like the Thursday wrap up?
Yeah.
Press the 3 dots, so don't want to see this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you get my email yesterday?
Yeah, I got your email yesterday. Yeah. I'm that's what I'm doing later tonight.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, this seems like a good place to wrap up a joint LinkedIn session.
Well, actually,
anyway, moral of the story: if you've got Josh Kennedy in the palm of your hand, tell him to come on.
He's not in the palm of my hand.
No, he's saying to you a measured basketball take. He's trying to impress you.
Ooh.
Because he probably is thinking Jimmy's got that dog in him, but he's probably thinking, I don't want to come in here with a Jimmy's got that dog in him take. I want to come in here and be measured and intelligent. And he said to you, it's going to be a good finals, which, Josh, you're right, it is. So if you're listening and you made it to the minute 116, 76 of this of this episode, come on the pod.
Yeah,
anyway, you've got some work to do tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't think their office is open on Friday, so Monday I'll give you a buzz.
Send him an email.
Yeah. Dante, I'll speak to you next week.
Peace.
If you look for PointsBet's stock exchange listing, you'll find a bucket of jargon and doublespeak as they're considered a, quote, wagering services operator, unquote. That's a corporate stretch for the colloquial friendly brogan or, hey, look, it's Chris Bosh kind of image they're sending off with their targeted advertising. I don't know about you, but take me back to the days when former pro sports players signed brand deals with hair loss clinics or Fujitsu aircons, not, quote, wagering service providers.
If you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and you come across the 2 of our faces morphed into one, would that make you listen to our podcast more? I mean, if it does, let us know and we'll start doing it. But when I see a few NBA players' faces morphed into one, it doesn't make me want to pull out my wallet and donate some money to my local wagering services provider.
The worst part is we're coming to accept it. Wagering service provider ads are so ingrained in our sports and the way sports is delivered to us, it's almost impossible to avoid. 3/4 of Australian children aged between 8 and 16 years who watch sport think that betting on sport is normal and can name one or more sport betting companies. When I was in school, I was struggling to remember Pokemon names, and I'd be furious if I knew that brain power was being used to put towards wagering service providers and not them.
The wagering service providers know exactly who to target. It's not okay to let them ingrain themselves in young Australians' minds. It's not okay to target people in the middle of a pandemic, and it's not okay for gambling companies to wield so much influence in the world of sports. To help kick gambling out of sport, use your voice and sign the petition at www.endgamblingads.org.au/petition.